Okay, so for some reason, some people think that the new Bakugan are a whole lot like Beyblade, and they really want me to talk about— oh god, okay, yeah, yes, okay, a lot of people think it's a ripoff, but come on! I don't see where they're coming from. Beyblades are battling tops, and Bakugan are marbles. They're completely Oh, I see. Hi, I'm JettKuso, and yes, okay, so the new Bakugan have ripcords like Beyblades, and they spin like Beyblades and battle in arenas like Beyblades, but that's just the new special attack Bakugan. There's an entire toy line to the new Bakugan reboot that changes the game in a lot of ways. Wow, those sure are some cards. How are those supposed to work, huh? And beyond that, Beyblade has also rebooted in Japan as Beyblade X. The two toy lines, which have always lived right next to each other on store shelves, suddenly have a lot more in common. Let's see if I can hold your attention to the end of the video, cause the story goes deep. And at the end, I'll share my thoughts for how Spin Master can take this controversial reboot and turn it into the best toy line they've ever made. What are these new Bakugan, how do they work, and how do they compare to Beyblades when we let them rip? Let's find out, cause it's time for Bakugan vs. Beyblade.
Hey, you know how Beyblades fight in arenas? They're shaped like bowls, and so is what you put cereal in. Hi, this video is sponsored by Magic Spoon. They make cereal that's keto-friendly, high protein, and very, very delicious, and I'm gonna eat some today. Gluten-free, grain-free, wheat-free, keto-friendly, super good for a low-carb lifestyle, and protein-packed for a wholesome diet, which is what I try to do. Thankfully, Magic Spoon lets me get my cereal fix and feel like a little boy. Magic Spoon is such a fun company, and it's such a fit for this channel because their whole, thing is to kind of recapture some of that magic and childlike wonder of youth, and sitting on the couch watching cartoons on Saturday morning, eating your cereal. This is my favorite of their cereals. This is the peanut butter flavor. It's just very delicious. The variety pack comes with 4 flavors. They got the peanut butter, they got frosted, they got cocoa, and fruity for you fruits out there. Same great taste that we remember from our childhoods, upgraded and grown up for grown-up metabolisms that we're all frickin' stuck with. You can click the link below to try out the Magic Spoon Variety Pack today, and get $5 off using my promo code JettKuso. You can also scan the QR code on the screen, like if you're watching this on a TV or something. Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, they are offering a full happiness guarantee, so you get all of your money back if you try it and you don't like it. So there's literally no risk. Click the link or scan the QR code and try it today. And I just want to eat this now, so back to the video.
If we're gonna compare these two toy lines, we need to understand these toy lines. And especially we need to understand where they come from if we wanna understand what makes them tick. Spinning tops are one of the oldest toys, one of the oldest things known to man. Like archery, tops are thought to have been invented independently by cultures all over the world, be it hand-spun tops, thrown tops, or tops spun by a string in a very similar way to a ripcord. But tops are one thing, top games are another. When it comes to randomization, the ancient Greeks used multi-sided tops called T-totems quite similarly to dice. And since D&D didn't exist yet, they were mostly used for put-and-take gambling games. Today you'll mostly see them as dreidels, still played during Hanukkah celebrations to this day. But the vast majority of top-based games are about how long you can get your top to spin, and whether or not you can get your opponent's top to stop spinning. Gasing is a traditional Malaysian sport played on a flat surface with a lot of rules and variations. But the basic idea is to strike the opponent's spinning top out of a circle, or get it to stop spinning with your own top. And when it comes to battling tops that battle on top of a concave arena, most people think of the 1968 game by Ideal Toys, Battling Tops.
Ideal's Battling Tops Championship. The contestants are winding their tops, getting into position, and the battle's on. Look at those tops bound for position. Watson's top is down. But it's up again. Anything can happen in battling top.
My favorite part is how the tops all have the names of men, like Hurricane Hank and Smarty Smitty. Twirling Tim is what they called me in college. Meanwhile, long before plastic was even invented, bored Japanese folks in the 17th century were filling seashells with sand and wax, winding a string around them and throwing them into an arena to battle. In all of my research, this game, called Baygoma, is the first to feature the concave arenas that we're so familiar with, usually made of canvas or sailcloth stretched over a bowl or pickle barrel. The tops themselves evolved from seashells into these wide, small tops made of metal, molded with kanji or symbols on top. And within Baygoma, you'll find tops of different sizes and shapes being customized by their owners to perform differently, simply by filing away until you get the shape you want. More so than any sport or card game, Baygoma captures raw conflict. Like a parent, you throw your offspring into the world, doing all you can to set it on the right course. But you can only watch and hope that everything you did will allow it to triumph. How do you improve on a formula like that?
There's nothing wrong with the capitalism. There's nothing wrong with the price. Don't trade. There's nothing wrong with making some profit. I'll say it's a fight.
As the age of plastic and consumerism takes hold, all street toys are forced to adapt or die. That all started with frickin' Pogs, then seeped into everything else to eventually morph Baygoma into Beyblade. I'm not here to give a full history of Beyblade, but that's fine, cause it hasn't changed all that much since it started. Ripcord launchers, 2 tops, and customizable parts to change the performance of your top. Some Beyblade lines have more plastic, some have more metal, but all of them have different systems for changing parts and never any real backwards compatibility. When Takara Toma says the Beyblades are changing, the Beyblades are changing. Yeah, that's right, drink up, drink your milk. The biggest addition to the franchise since its start is the burst gimmick, where a Beyblade might explode if it's hit enough times or it's hit hard enough. It's honestly so cool and so satisfying. I just wish it wasn't exclusive to the Beyblade era that looks the most like garbage. Yeah, I know. I don't like Beyblade Burst, alright? Sue me. I think they look dumb without bit beasts, alright? They look like 7 mall katanas in a trench coat. If my Bay isn't 2 steps away from looking like a Zoo Pal paper plate, I am not interested. Thank goodness, 2023 has brought us Beyblade X, a new series with bit beasts and bursts. The cleanest looking Bay designs of all time and more violence than ever. This strip on the outside of the arena gears together with the tips of the bays to launch them back into the center at high speed. A true innovation that makes things way more action-packed than any battling tops ever. Takara Tomy is going hard promoting this stuff in Japan and trying to make it into a real sport. It's the fact that both Bakugan and Beyblade are rebooting at the exact same time that seems to be drawing so many comparisons on top of the obvious. When Bakugan first went away in the US, it was only a few years after the return of Beyblade to the West. In Japan, Sega released a line of incredibly high-end, high-performing Bakugan called Bakutech, arguably the best Bakugan toys to date in terms of features, balance, design, and overall quality. Beyblade X hits me the same way as Bakutech, especially with how gorgeous they look. These tops look like candy, like delicious candy. I just want to bite them, I just want to get them. These 2 reboots are setting the stage for the greatest battle we've ever seen, a battle that Bakugan is taking directly to Beyblade's turf. Or are they? The history of battling tops is long, but the history of marbles is a bit more simple. Marbles hadn't really evolved at all until Bakugan. Sure, they used to be made of sanded rocks and nuts, but who isn't? The most classic version of marbles can be boiled down to drawing a circle, putting both players' marbles inside, then launching a shooter marble into the circle to knock the marbles out. Typically, this was a sort of keepsies gambling game where players get to keep the marbles they knock out of the circle, winning the game if you win more marbles. Aside from small rules variations, this game has persisted for countless centuries. But then, one man, an American inventor named Aldrich Saucier, he had a problem. He had beef, because as lasting as marbles were, they weren't action enough. The story of Bakugan begins as action marbles, literally just marbles with a guy inside. It wasn't until Spin Master got a hold of the idea and partnered with Sega that it gained its most distinctive features: magnets, springs, and metal cards as targets. The first released version of the game is often called the HSP game, which is far closer to marbles than it is to any Bakugan thing that came after it. Players would win hollow sector points by winning gate cards and capturing enemy Bakugan by defeating them in battle. The game even mirrored marbles with critical KOs. Knock an enemy off of its card and win that card and the Bakugan instantly. The focus was all on physicality, skill, and wacky action. You could literally bring as many Bakugan cards as you want to the battle to play until you both literally run out of them. Quickly, the game shifted to a far more controlled and far more sterilized version when ability cards were introduced.
The only game to combine Bakugan strategy, skill, and action. Strategically play your most valuable cards to outsmart your opponent.
This game instantaneously became a fast-paced, heavily strategic battle of wits. With only 3 Bakugan, 3 gate cards, and 3 ability cards, the complex effects and interactions of a TCG were compressed into its tightest possible form. Every roll, every miss, and every card played could mean victory or defeat. And that's largely how the game remained through Bakugan's first generation, albeit getting more and more bloated with extra game pieces until the strategic elements were bogged down by sheer power creep.
Riding on cars!
But at least the game always stayed compatible with whatever weird gimmicks they came out with, be they dice throwers, missile launchers, splitty guides, or even ripcords. Wow, that's wild, isn't it? Look how wild that is. What a wild idea. Wow. Oh, wow. Oh boy. In the middle of that, we got Bakutech Gachi, which was similar to the Battle Brawlers game if it learned Japanese and swallowed enough uppers to vibrate through solid concrete. Ability cards, gone. Turns, gone. If you want to roll your Bakugan, you better close it up and roll before the Japanese man finishes counting down, or you don't get to roll. What are you gonna do? Cry about it? You're gonna cry? Too bad! The timer's counting down again. You gotta roll! When Bakugan returned in 2019, things were redesigned to a full-blown trading card game. And you know what? It was good. It was really a very good game, and it actually had people taking it seriously as a contender for a new big TCG. But it was also a lot. It was fairly complex, expensive to get into, and with such a large scope that Spin Master got scared of their own creation almost as soon as it was out. It was allowed to fade slowly into obscurity, with new Bakugan coming out, but the cards vanishing from store shelves after hardly a year. And as they vanished, my brother, my local community, and I designed a new game to fill the void. Bakugan Melee, a cardless format meant to recapture the brand's action-packed marble roots. We pulled rules from HSP, Battle Brawlers, the Bakugan video game, Gachi, the TCG, everywhere, all to create the perfect petri dish for action, stunts, skill, and physical insanity. That game was fun enough, especially as a 4-player game, that it got my local Bakugan group, a group of adults, through about 2 or 3 years of TCG drought. But now Bakugan has rebooted again, and this new stuff isn't really compatible with Bakugan Melee, so what is this new game going to be? Will it lean more towards the card game strategy of Battle Brawlers and the TCG, or more towards the skill-based action marble game of HSP, Gachi, and Melee? Oh boy. In the quickest and punchiest terms I can say, here's a breakdown of the new Bakugan toy line. Just like the 2019 reboot with Core Bakugan and Ultra Bakugan, the new line has Bakugan and Special Attack Bakugan. The normal sort are just normal Bakugan. Plastic balls that you can roll and they pop open on gate cards, except now they... yeah, they split in half, just like the bind system from Bakutech. Why? Why do they do this? I don't really know, because the bottom halves aren't spring-loaded. The feet parts are manual, so no matter which halves you combine, they all roll the same and they all pop open the same, unless you get your grubby little fingers in there and until all the parts are flipped out. The character cards for these normal Bakugan look like this, all halved and whatnot, with these 3 colored bars on the sides. We got a little fire, a starburst, and heart. We'll get back to what these symbols mean in a second. We gotta talk about the expensive ones first, the special attack Bakugan. They come in starter sets, just like Ultras, or on their own, just like Ultras, but instead of jumping, they spin. The special attack bottom halves contain a geared metal flywheel to create a gyroscopic effect, sending them spinning when you let them go shoot. The coolest part of this to me is that the ripcords are omnidirectional. You can insert them frontwards, backwards, upside up, right side down, inside out, etc., etc. Great for accessibility if you ask me, someone with no knowledge on the subject of disabilities. Actually, never mind, no, I'm not qualified to talk about this. Bakugan have had ripcords and flywheels before, but nothing quite like this. Special attack bottoms also come with these removable rings in various shapes. Each one vaguely corresponds to a bottom half of a card that buffs the stats of the attached Bakugan. Look at all that extra green power! Yes, I called it green power. As far as I can tell, this stat, with the little flame, is called green power. Aside from the gyroscopic effect, the flywheel also connects to a spinning tip that adds even more spin. Rip the cord and place it in an arena, and the Bakugan goes wild, spinning around until it loses momentum, allowing the offset magnet to connect with a gate card and open. Rip the cord and place it on a flat surface and it'll, come on, get on there. Come on, Okay, never mind, we'll just use the arena for now. We'll come back to this later. Putting 2 Bakugan in an arena creates quite a spectacle. The internal gyroscope makes for a very different look to a traditional spinning top, since the outside can completely stop, pause for a moment, then continue spinning again. It makes it look like combat, with each Bakugan using its weapons to swing and attack. It's good. It looks very good. It's fun to watch. It's a good spectacle. Look at it. Look. Oh, wow. Oh, now that's properly neat. Yeah, that's really something. And of course, attaching different special attack rings can vastly change Bakugan's performance. When you add Flame Axes, your Bakugan spins like this. And when you add Blazing Warrior, it spins like this. This is the way that Scorch Whip spins, and these all do the exact same thing. All right, fine, sure, that's fine. It's still visual customization, which is fine and good. Now for the gate cards, which are very different to previous gates. You place them face up and try to aim for the different marked territories. The symbol of the territory you land on correlates to a stat on your character card, which probably affects the battle in interesting ways, right?
Wrong!
And lastly, the starter sets, which come with these card holder things, which don't have a name, but they let you keep your character cards and your special attack cards held together. And they've got an attached ripcord. The ripcord being super short doesn't actually give you any worse of a chance in battle, because the length of time your Bakugan spins or the speed your Bakugan spins at will not meaningfully affect the results of any given battle in any way. And this raises the question, what is this game and how do I win? Well, I'm not gonna go that deep into the rules in this video, but the rules don't actually go that deep in the first place, so I'm gonna explain the whole thing and it'll only take about 30 seconds. Choose 3 Bakugan and 2 gate cards. Set up the gate cards and roll or spin your Bakugan at the same time as your opponent. If one Bakugan doesn't open, it loses. If both Bakugan open, you use one stat to battle with based on whichever zone your Bakugan lands on. Can't tell what zone you're in? Screw you! Whoever has the highest score wins. First player to win with 3 Bakugan wins the game. That's it. That is the entire game. Whether you win or lose depends entirely on what symbol your Bakugan lands on, so skill comes into play in a big way. The better you can roll your Bakugan, the more likely it is you'll get the symbol of your highest stat and win oh, right. Alright, so the symbols are arbitrary, the stats are meaningless, and the spinning has nothing to do with the game because results are just randomly determined by whatever stat your Bakugan happens to land on. You could argue that with normal Bakugan on a flat surface, you could roll skillfully and strategically. But that would be a dumb argument because on the arenas, you're supposed to use these little ramps to roll, which exclusively serves the purpose of making normal Bakugan exactly as random as the special attacks. They just kind of bumble around, and I haven't figured out a way to get those ramp things to roll consistently in any way. The Gen 3 game is random chance, with the only element of skill being removed unless you play on a flat surface. And if you play on a flat surface, you can't really use the special attacks as intended. It isn't a game. Games require choice and challenge. It's empty spectacle with random numbers slapped on top, and it's so weird because the design of the gate cards, all of the different stats, the way everything is balanced, it looks like you could make a super interesting game out of these things. Why is there a heart symbol if the heart isn't health? Why is there a boxing glove fist if it doesn't give you more attack damage? Everything looks like it's designed to make an interesting card game, but they just didn't. But JettKuso, you're forgetting the brawler cards, JettKuso. Ah, you mean the optional math test you can choose to take each turn?
Your Bakugan score is partially based on what area of the gate card they land on. But in Master Brawls, each player will also flip over and play a card off the top of their brawler deck to look for bonuses before scores are tallied.
Yeah, if you want to play the advanced version, you take 6 of these brawler cards, shuffle them into a deck, and draw one from the top every time you battle. It adds a random bonus to your random stat and nothing else. Maybe you could say there's some strategy in which Bakugan you pick and which cards you put in your deck. Cause yeah, if you built a team really carefully, you could definitely increase your chances of winning, but that doesn't change the fact that playing the game is a boring slog with no skill, choice, or strategy. It's empty. When I showed this whole thing to Connor, after a few rounds, he said this, and I quote, "This is a really fun game until I'm 6 years old." Cause yeah, if you're 5 years old, it's probably fun for the same reason Candyland is fun. It's colorful, it's simple, it's random, and it teaches you the very basics of how games work without anything particularly complicated or challenging. But I was playing Monopoly by the time I was 6, an awful game with a lot of randomness, but at least there was some choice in whether to buy something. But the arena is made for kids 6 and up! To make myself clear, Bakugan doesn't need a complicated game. It doesn't need a fancy TCG, even if it's cool. It doesn't need cards. Optional complexity is great to give kids something to grow into, but if you really want to sell toys to kids between the ages of 6 and 9, a simple game is fine. But when your game is nothing more than random chance and occasional math, you've got a problem. Kids young enough to be amused by random chance are too young to bother learning rules in the first place. Most young kids are going to make up their own rules and their own games, which means you don't need to design a game for kids that young. You only need to design a game for kids old enough to want complexity, skill, and strategy. Alright, God, anyway, with all this in mind, how does it compare to Beyblade? Let's assume that Bakugan is trying to compete directly with Beyblade. Let's assume they saw all that sweet Beyblade money and thought, hey, let's outdo Beyblade at their own game. Or at least, let's try to get Beyblade fans to also like our toy line. Beyblade doesn't have any cards or rules or any of the extra stuff that Bakugan has. Beyblade doesn't really have a game per se. It's just tops, so shouldn't any game be better than Beyblade? Shouldn't Special Attack Bakugan be at least as interesting as battling tops? Well, yes, special attacks are more interesting than battling tops. As in the game by Ideal Toys, not Beyblade. Cause the new Bakugan can technically do everything a traditional battling top game can do, even if the official game doesn't work that way. You can put 2 or more special attacks in an arena and decide the victor based on whose Bakugan spins the longest. But Beyblade isn't just battle tops, and it's lasted as long as it has exclusively based upon one key point. One thing that the new Bakugan simply do not have. Performance-based customization.
더욱 강력해졌다. 배틀에 따라 전략에 따라 내 맘대로 합차는 오리지널 배틀 파이트 탑 블레이드. 승리를 향한 최강의 합체로 상대를 제압하라.
This is the gold mine of Beyblade. You put an attack type tip on your top and it moves more erratically. You put a stamina tip on and it spins longer. Every single change and addition you make changes the battle, making it so there is nothing random feeling about Beyblade battles. The play pattern is so simple. Just watch and see which top stops, gets knocked out, or explodes first. And yet, with the design of every piece of every bay, a world of fine-tuned strategy opens up. The possibility of tournaments opens up. Organized play, discussion, endless content. It scales up or down to be fun for any age without any changes in the rules or the play pattern. It's a goldmine, and it's unlike any previous Bakugan game. The 2 brands are in the same genre, but they are fundamentally different, and I'm going to demonstrate exactly how using a very simple framework. Every good toy and every physical game has what I call the big moment. A single moment, a single action that is fun to see and fun to do. The big moment can be anything, but usually it has a satisfying sound and a satisfying feel. Putting a basketball through a hoop, kicking a soccer ball into a goal, rolling a D20, hitting the pins with a bowling ball, putting a card down on the table, 2 tops clashing into each other.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
These things are fun on their own, but the game adds structure and competition. All game structures, at least the ones that I can think of, are built to make the big moment important so the players have a reason to get good at it. You have to kick the soccer ball good and fast to get it in the net. You have to get a high roll on the dice or your character will die. Bakugan's big moment is when the Bakugan opens and sticks to a card. This is what Sega added to the Action Marbles concept. The thing that took Bakugan from a curious little trinket to a viable, playable toy. It's cool. It's insanely cool. It's a big moment and it's hard to do. Aiming a Bakugan is hard. Getting a Bakugan to open on a card is hard. Getting it to stand on a card takes skill, but that's the only thing that Bakugan do. You roll them and they pop open, and that big moment has to be important. If it's random whether or not they pop open, or if it's guaranteed that they will pop open, you kneecap the big moment. If the game elements that happen after it pops open are random, you're kneecapping the big moment. Every clash between 2 Beyblades is important because it might mean that you lose. Your Beyblade might get knocked out, or it might stop spinning, and if you lose, it means you built a bad Beyblade and you did a bad job and didn't rip it hard enough and you suck and it makes you a loser. And you don't want to be a loser, you want to be a winner. So you better go buy that new bay with the new tip that you need so that you can win. The burst gimmick has become a staple of the franchise because it makes the big moment even bigger when it happens. Your Beyblade didn't just stop spinning, it exploded. The point of Beyblades isn't that they spin. It's the fact that the spinning matters that makes the matches intense. They tried to shove the big moment from Beyblade into Bakugan, but the clashes don't mean anything, and you as a player can't do anything to affect what happens. Not by customization, not by ripping harder, nothing. And in the process, they've destroyed the importance of Bakugan's actual big moment by taking skillful rolling out of the equation. What if pool didn't have pockets, and you just kind of randomly hit balls around a table and then flip a coin to decide who wins? What if darts was played by throwing darts at a blank board, then holding a slam poetry competition, then flipping a coin to decide who wins at darts? Well, I'll tell you what if. That'd be bad darts. You can't be meaningfully good or bad at this game. Half of the toy line and the entire marketing push of this season is built around a toy that only works if you spend another $30 to $40 to play a game that's just as tedious as it is exciting. In the name of simplicity, in the name of marketability, they've misunderstood the appeal of a different toy line and removed one of the biggest appeals of their own. And the truth is, Bakugan can't beat Beyblade on its own turf. Here's a pop quiz. Who's more likely to buy a Bakugan toy? A kid who loves Beyblade or a kid who loves Fortnite? Ding ding ding, you're a smart cookie, so you definitely answered Beyblade, kid. If a kid likes physical action game toys like Beyblade, they'll probably like Bakugan too. I don't actually think they're trying to beat Beyblade or make a better Beyblade. They just want to pull in some of Beyblade's audience over to Bakugan by mimicking what Beyblade does well. But that doesn't work if the toy you put out is just a worse, less fun version of Beyblade that somehow still manages to be more complicated. Even Beyblade can't compete with Beyblade. Every single spin-off they've ever tried, be it Bay Wheels, Bay Raiders, Bay Warriors, or Tornado Battlers, they've all failed. Because when the normal Bays are so good, why spend your allowance on a spin-off? And please, don't mistake me, Special Attack Bakugan are good. They feel good, they work good, they have a weight that's really satisfying. It isn't a bad product, but it isn't really Bakugan. They're fun to fidget with and play with on a table. They're good toys, but that's all they are. And Bakugan can be so much more. It can be something that appeals to multiple generations, that connects to kids and teens and old fans, even without being a complicated TCG. All of the Beyblade people I know were more interested in Bakugan when it was a TCG, despite the inherent simplicity of Beyblade. When you're used to simple action, you want a little bit of strategy for it to be worth investing in a different toy line or a different game. Bakugan is Bakugan. Bakugan is marbles with a card game attached. Skill, strategy, action. Bakugan can exist in perfect harmony with Beyblade, in a perfect symbiosis as two separate toy lines, if Bakugan does its own thing and does it well. And you know what? I still think they can do it. Because despite every complaint I've made, despite every design flub and missed opportunity, there's a way to take this awkward, misguided launch and turn it into the best frickin' toy line Bakugan has ever had. The biggest boon of Gen 3, something genuinely brilliant and brilliantly executed that's being largely ignored by both Spin Master and the fandom. Something with so much kinetic, toyish potential. Something so fan-friendly that no one is talking about because it's getting overshadowed by the Beyblade thing. The splitting gimmick. The bind system. Have any of you even thought about what this system means if they actually stick with it into future seasons? For one, it means eternal backwards compatibility. Sure, right now none of the bottom halves are spring-loaded, but they could release spring-loaded bottom halves at any point in the future, and you can go gadget top surgery your favorite Bakugan right on there in different combinations. These new bottom halves could come with additions to character cards like special effect text boxes or symbols that change things up, and that's just the basic stuff. They could do even more than that. Special attack used to mean a whole lot more than spinning Bakugan. It used to mean dice rolling and attribute change wheels and metal parts and tornado spinning. And it could mean those things again. Imagine a line of Sky Raider-like special attack bottoms with special spring-loaded feet that launch them into the air. Or bottoms that turn any Bakugan into a tornado spinning monster. A bottom half that explodes the Bakugan off of it like Sky and Gaia Dragonoid. Or even just like a heavy metal ring around the edge. And then you can add these gimmicks to any Gen 3 Bakugan just by swapping out the top halves. They could even change around where the magnet is positioned in relation to the latch, so some Bakugan would open upright or sideways or lunge outward away from the magnet like an Ultra. And what if they put more gimmicks into the top halves too? A top with an attribute change wheel, or a dice thrower, or a second magnet so that any Bakugan can be made into Preus 2. Make one that shoots a frickin' missile for no reason. God, the possibilities are endless. If Spin Master really wants to take a hint from the success of Beyblade, they need to implement customization that matters. Customization that really changes what a Bakugan does and how it performs. And crazy physical gimmicks are a great way to do that. This doesn't solve the problem of the game being incredibly weak and self-defeating, but it automatically becomes less self-defeating if you move away from arena play and allow skill back into the game. And again, kids who are too young to be interested in skillful play are too young to be interested in learning your rules in the first place. They're gonna make up their own game no matter what the official rules are, so you only need your game to appeal to kids who are old enough to care about the official way. So with that being said, my local gaming group and I are developing a new format for Bakugan Gen 3. It isn't Bakugan Melee, but by the time it's ready for y'all to see, it'll probably be a much more unique and strategic way to play with these new toys. So if you want to see that video when the game is ready, don't subscribe, just go watch more videos from my channel to tell the YouTube algorithm that you want to see more. And in the end, let's all hope that Spin Master keeps making new Bakugan and uses what they've started to make crazier and crazier stuff. Bakugan can change and grow. It doesn't have to be the same as it used to be as long as they keep sight of the big moments that make Bakugan so fun in the first place. Thanks for watching. This is JettKuso, and I'll see you next time.
For the Patreon video this month, I'm going to see if I can upload an old lost video that I made forever ago about Pogs that I haven't actually ever uploaded anywhere. It's so old and I don't think would fit on the main channel anymore, but I'm going to see if I can get that on Patreon, the lost JettKuso Pogs video. But thank you to my Diamond patrons, Immortal Blank, LucidLana, and new Diamond patron, Tenzin, Tseyang, Titan patrons, SheVitus, Sierra 107, GUSANO, plecopleco, and Banana Jones, my Hyper patrons, Gavin Greenlee, David, Trouble, DuskAnthro, and Mudorios, and new base patrons, Hector Keha, Amygaleonitis, and Brent Turner. Thanks, guys.